Hi, welcome to Gramophone Music Studio YouTube channel. Today's video will be the ABRSM Grade 7 Aural Test, a full guide, sample Q&A, and answering tips. Check out our previous video on the ABRSM Grade 6 Aural Test and all you need to know about ABRSM exam. The link will be in the description. Firstly, what's Aural Test? It is a listening test that involves singing, listening to cadences, and answering questions. The oral test is only in practical exam, which is face-to-face exam. It is 18 marks out of 150. The entire test will be played on the piano regardless of candidate's instrument for the exam. The grade 6 to 8 oral test share similar components. It is recommended to go through the previous grade before doing the grade 7 oral test. The Test A would be a melodic repetition from a two-part melody, Test B, sight singing, Test C, cadences, chords, and modulation, and Test D, musical features and rhythmic repetition. Let's talk about Test 7A, melodic repetition. Here is the instruction. I'd like you to repeat the lower part of a two-part phrase. Would you prefer to sing it or play it? I'll play it twice. Here's the key chord and your starting note. And then count in 2 bars and play the phrase once. Here it is again, and repeat the phrase without counting in. The candidate should memorize the lower part of the melody, repeat it after hearing twice, ensuring accuracy in pitch and rhythm. The candidate can choose to sing or play the melody. If you choose to play, the examiner will name the key chord and starting note. Transposing instruments will be accommodated too. The melody would be a two-part phrase with a range within an octave. The key would be a major key or minor key up to 3 sharps or 3 flats. It is not more than 4 bars long. The meter can be in 2, 3, or 4 time, including 6/8 time. It can begin from a note from the tonic triad, and there is no chromatic note involved. The acceptance response would be by singing, humming, or whistling, or by playing. For singing, humming, and whistling, ensure that the pitch and rhythm is accurate. The candidate is also allowed to transpose an octave higher or lower to match your vocal range. If by playing, the examiner will name the key and the starting note, transposing instruments will be accommodated as well. I'd like you to repeat the lower part of a two-part phrase. Would you prefer to sing it or play it? I'll play it twice. Here is the key chord and your starting note. 1, 2, 1, 2. Here it is again. Here are some teaching hints. It is similar to grade 6, which means the melody would have 2 parts. Candidates should follow the lower line, which is the lower pitch. Help the students by playing the lower line slightly louder, and help distinguish the 2 lines by singing the melodic interval, which is played separately. And then try harmonic intervals, which is played at the same time. Also, try different harmonic intervals in a row without rhythm, and then include various rhythm. And lastly, try out parts that move independently with various rhythm. Here is an example of the two-part music. There is no sheet music given in the exam. It will only be played by examiner on the piano. For grade 7, candidates should sing the lower part. As for the answering tips, follow and pay attention to the lower line, which is the lower pitch. Hum along or use hand gestures to help memorizing the melody. Try out the different exercises in 2 parts, and you can also practice singing in choir, which has 2 parts, or get a friend to practice 2-part music together. Next, Test 7B, sight singing. Here is the instruction. Here is a 2-part phrase. I'd like you to sing the upper part while I play the lower part. Number on this page. First, I'll give you the key chord, your starting note, and the speed. Then you can have a few moments to look through and try it out loud. Here is the key chord, your starting note, and the speed. and after 50 seconds, here is the key chord again, and your starting note. Now, I'll count you in 2 bars. The candidates should sing the notes as printed, ensure the pitch and rhythm in place. You can choose to read in treble clef or bass clef and give a confident response. The melody would be a 2-part phrase with the lower part played by the examiner. It will be within a range of the octave. It can be in major or minor key up to 4 sharps or flats. The meter in 2, 3 or 4 time, including 6/8 time. It will begin from a note from the tonic triad. There is no chromatic note involved. The accidentals will only appear in the minor key examples like raise the 6th or 7th. They can choose to read either treble clef or bass clef. Candidates will be given a copy of music and the test number chosen by examiner. There will be 15 seconds to glance through and try it out silently or sing it out. The 15 seconds will not be assessed. Candidate has to respond by singing, humming or whistling. Ensure the pitch and rhythm is accurate and follow the speed indicated by examiner. They're allowed to sing octave higher or lower to match the vocal range. The examiner might help by playing the melody notes to guide the pitch. And keep in mind that you should keep going no matter what happens because the examiner will not wait or slow down to wait for your response. Here is a 2-part phrase. I would like you to sing the upper part while I play the lower part. Number 1 on this page. First, I'll give you the key chord, the starting note and the speed. Then you can have a few moments to look through and try it out loud. Here is the key chord F major. And your starting note A. And the speed 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Here is the key chord again, and your starting note. Now I'll count you in 2 bars. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. La, 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 la. Here are some teaching hints. Sing the scale and arpeggios in major and minor within an octave range. Sing some simple scale patterns in different rhythm. Sing up and down the tonic triads as the starting note is from the triad. Encourage the student to sing in solfege or any syllable comfortable to them. Encourage the student to keep going no matter what happens. Do not wait or redo the wrong notes. And practice singing different intervals. As for the answering tips, remember the starting note and the pitch of the tonic triad note. From the tonic triad, find the other pitch in the scales. Follow the rhythm accurately as examiner will not wait for your response. Utilize the 15 seconds preparation time to go through as much as possible. The examiner will not assess the preparation time. Next, Test 7C, Cadences, Chords and Modulation. Test 7C1 would be on cadence. The instruction is as such. Is cadence at the end of this phrase perfect, imperfect, or interrupted? I'll play it twice. Here is the key chord and play the phrase once. Here it is again, and examiner repeat the phrase again. What is the cadence? The candidate should identify the cadence at the end of the phrase, whether it's perfect, imperfect, or interrupted cadence. Next, tell me what the 2 chords in that cadence are. Here is the key chord again. It will be named and played, and now the 2 chords, which will be played slowly as a pair. What are they? The candidate should name the chords that made up the cadence. It is from the same piece of music as the previous question on cadence. Now, a modulation. Tell me where the music modulates to at the end of this passage. You will hear it only once. It begins in major, and this is the key chord. The examiner play the passage. Where does it modulate to? The candidate should identify the type of modulation, either to dominant, subdominant, or relative minor. It will be a different piece of music from the previous 2 questions. For the cadence and chords, it will be in either major or minor key, played twice by the examiner. The chords will only be in root position. An examiner will play the key chord at the beginning. Both questions are based on the same piece of music. And for modulations, it will begin in major key only. The possible modulations would be to the dominant, subdominant, or relative minor. It will be a different piece of music from the cadence and chords question. Is the cadence at the end of this phrase perfect, imperfect, or interrupted? I'll play it twice. Here is the key chord. Here it is again. What is the cadence? It is imperfect cadence. Next, tell me what the two chords in that cadence are. Here is the key chord again, G major. And now the two chords. What are they? They are chord 1 and chord 5. Now, a modulation. Tell me where the music modulates to at the end of this passage. You will hear it only once. It begins in F major, and this is the key chord. Where does it modulate to? It modulates to the subdominant. These are some teaching hints for cadences and chords. The difference from grade 6 would be the inclusion of interrupted cadence and also naming the chords that make up the cadence. We should familiarize the students with the perfect and imperfect cadence first. The main difference for interrupted cadence would be the chord 5 doesn't go to chord 1 but chord 6. Play through various examples in major and minor key to help the students identify them. And then, according to the cadences, name the possible chord progressions. And these are some answering tips. For cadences, listen to the final chord. If it ends with a chord 1, then it's perfect cadence. If it ends with a chord 5, then imperfect. And if it ends with chord 6, it will be interrupted. Next, we can also identify them according to the effect of the cadence. If it sounds strong and final, like a full stop, it will be a perfect cadence. And the most common chords in grade 7 would be 5-1 or 5-7-1. If it sounds incomplete like a comma, that would be imperfect cadence, and the possible chords are 1-5 or 4-5. If it sounds unexpected like a surprise, that would be interrupted cadence, which can be 5-6 or 5-7-6. And then we should also know how to identify the chords, which will only be in root position. We should name the chords based on the cadence answered earlier. If it's perfect cadence, it has to be 5-1, either 5 or 5-7. As for interrupted cadence, it has to be 5-6, and also it can be only the dominant chord or dominant seventh. Try to get students to identify the difference between the chord 5 dominant and dominant 7. The dominant 7 usually sounds more strong. As for the imperfect cadence, it will either be 1-5 or 4-5. Listen to the bass notes. If it is 1-5, the bass notes will be a fifth or fourth apart, for example, C to G. As for 4-5, the bass notes will be stepwise rising, such as from F to G. And these are the acceptable answers for chords. We can answer them in chord number like 5 to 1, in technical name dominant to tonic, or by the chord name G major to C major. Next, the teaching hints for modulations. Show students various examples of modulations to help students differentiate. Use the exam pieces as example and identify the type of modulations. Make sure to always start in major key. For the answering tips, listen to the effect and also the final chord to confirm the modulation. If it is the modulation to the dominant, it sounds more bright by adding a sharp. For example, from C major, no sharp or flat, to G major, which has one sharp. The modulation to subdominant would sound like it's lowered or mellow by adding a flat, such as from C major to F major, which has a B flat. If it is to the relative minor, it sounds sad, creepy, and a completely different mood from the previous key, such as from C major to A minor with a raised 7 G sharp. And these are the acceptable answers for modulation, either in technical name, dominant, subdominant, or the key name like it modulates to G major, F major, A minor. Moving on to test 7D, musical features and rhythmic repetition. This is the instruction. Listen to this piece, then I'll ask you about. There will be two picked from texture, structure, dynamics, articulation, tempo change, tonality, character, and style and period. The candidates should pay attention to the features asked and answer the questions accordingly. Now, clap the rhythm of the notes in this phrase after I've played it twice more. An examiner played the extract once. Here it is again. Examiner repeat the extract. Is it in 2 time, 3 time, or 4 time, or 6/8 time? The candidates should clap the exact rhythm of the extract and answer if it's in 2, 3, or 4 time, or 6/8 time. Listen to this piece, then I'll ask you about the texture and style and period. What can you say about the use of texture in this piece? It is contrapuntal or polyphonic texture. It is quite light and transparent. What can you say about the style and period of this piece? It is from the Baroque period because of the contrapuntal texture, the frequent use of ornaments, and also the non-legato articulation that resembles the use of harpsichord. Now, clap the rhythm of the notes in this phrase after I've played it twice more. Here it is again. Is it in 2 time, 3 time, 4 time, or 6/8 time? It is in 6/8 time. For the test 7D1 musical features, the candidates will be asked 2 of the below features: the texture and structure from grade 6, style and period from grade 5 onwards, character from grade 4 onwards, and dynamics, articulation, tempo, tonality from grade 1 to 3 onwards. You may find the teaching hints for these musical features in the respective grade oral video, which I will put it in the link in description. Check out our video on how to analyze the texture and structure of music, a very detailed explanation with musical examples. The answering tips for texture, it could be chordal or homophonic, contrapuntal or polyphonic, melody with accompaniment or monophonic. And then also describe in objectives whether it's simple or complex, transparent or opaque, sparse or dense, consistent or varying, thick or thin. With a sample question and answer, describe the texture in this music. It is chordal with a dense and thick texture. What can you say about the use of texture in this piece? It is polyphonic and has a light and transparent texture. As for the structure, you could be asked on how many sections and length of the sections, the phrase structure of the piece, a repetition of phrases, how many phrases are there. For example, it could be AB, binary form, ABA, ternary form, regular phrase, 4 bars each, or irregular phrase. Here are some sample questions and answers. Describe the phrase structure of this piece. It has a regular phrase structure, 4 bars each. They all share similar materials. How many phrases are there in this piece? What can you say about their length? There are 3 phrases and they are of equal lengths. How many main sections are there in this piece, and how do they relate to one another? There are 2 main sections and consist of different materials, which makes it a binary form or AB form. Next, the style and period. Name the style and period and list characteristics that are showcased in the music to support your answer. You may include texture and structure in your response, which is the musical features from grade 6 onwards. We have this video on our channel which will be a detailed analysis of the musical period Baroque, Classical, Romantic, and 20th century, their characteristics and music examples. Refer to this video for a detailed guidance to identify musical period. A link will be in the description box. The Baroque period has the characteristics of energetic, lively rhythm and 18th century dance characters. Strong spirited melodic ideas in the upper and lower parts, sometimes with parts copying each other. The frequent use of melodic decoration and ornamentation. Crepes, light articulation and limited pitch range reflecting the original use of harpsichord. Clear contrapuntal textures with imitation between parts. Clear-cut cadences usually occurring only at the ends of the main sections, owing to the independence of parts. Limited dynamic shaping with a rare use of crescendo and diminuendo. The sections often falling into two main halves, which is AB or binary form. Some composers from the Baroque periods are J.S. Bach, Handel, Scarlatti, Vivaldi, and Telemann. For classical period, it has regular, clear-cut, and generally predictable phrase lengths that are clearly punctuated with cadences, such as 2 + 2 + 4 bars or 4 + 4 + 8 bars. Graceful and elegant melodic ideas and often involving repetition, mostly using notes from the key chord or scale. The accompaniment that clearly outline the harmony, such as using chords or broken chords pattern like Alberti bass. There is little dynamic shaping with the use of crescendo and diminuendo. A straightforward tonic dominant oriented functional harmony. A frequently use of melody-dominated texture and usually melody at the top. A phrase structure usually involving repetition of ideas, often with variants of the same basic material and use of contrasting ideas. Some composers from the classical periods are Mozart, Haydn, Clementi, Debussy, and Beethoven early period. The Romantic period usually features music with flexibility of tempo, which we call rubato, lyrical and song-like melody, not necessarily at the top part, extended phrases and less obvious cadential punctuation, rich harmonies and expressive use of chromatic notes, thicker sonorities with the use of sustaining pedal and greater emphasis on the wide range of dynamic, a greater range of textural possibilities with more dense or thicker chords, the phrases tending to be less regular and predictable in length. The structures often involving melodically unrelated sections such as a separate introduction or coda. Some composers from the Romantic periods are Chopin, Brahms, Liszt, Schumann, and Mendelssohn. As for the 20th century, it usually features vigorous rhythms, perhaps with abrupt changes between the ideas and use of spiky accents. Melodic phrasing are more free and less clearly defined, asymmetric phrase lengths possible. Harmony more adventurous and dissonant, variety of chord types like note clusters and unrelated chords for color and effect. Wide dynamics possibilities with sudden change or exploration of extremes of note range and dynamic level. Tonal centers less obvious or complete lack of tonal center. Influence of jazz or blues such as syncopation, swing rhythm, or walking bass lines. Pieces in national styles often showing influence of folk music. The textures are likely to be varied. Some composers are Bartók, Debussy, Gershwin, Prokofiev, and Ravel. And this is a sample question and answer on musical period. What is the style and period of this piece? Which musical features tells you that? It is from the classical period because of the use of regular phrase. The phrases are clearly punctuated with cadences. The melody is dominated at the top line and the Alberti bass accompaniment that clearly outlines the melody. As for the dynamics, you will be asked about the loud or soft or the changes between the dynamics, or describe the dynamic of the whole piece. The sample Q&A, describe the dynamic in this piece. The music begins softly, then there was a crescendo towards the middle and it stayed loud until the end. The articulation would be about the smooth legato or detached staccato or accents. The sample Q&A would be, describe the articulation used in this piece. The right-hand melody was played legato and the accompaniment was mostly staccato. And tempo change, whether the tempo of the music changes like getting slower or faster, and when it happened. Is it in the beginning, middle, or at the end? Sample Q&A. Was there any change in tempo or did it always stay the same? There was a ritornando at the end of the piece. The tonality, which is the use of major or minor key. The sample Q&A. What can you say about the tonality in this piece? It starts in the major key with a brief section in the middle in minor key and ends in the major key. The character. Describe the character of music and provide musical features that support the answer. Sample Q&A. What in the music gives this piece its character? The piece is dance-like and lively because of the fast tempo used in the music. The piece is in the major key and the difference between the dynamic level was made suddenly. Usually to answer this question, describe the music with an adjective and provide the supporting reasons. This table is for your reference only. The exact features could be different according to music. Rhythmic repetition. Same as grade 4, 5, and 6, the candidate should clap the rhythm, not pulse as in earlier grades. The examiner plays only the right hand, which is the melody line without accompaniment. Clap the rhythm and answer whether it's in 2, 3, 4 time or 6, 8 time. As for the answering tips, listen to the pulse and figure out the meter when examiner plays the whole piece. If you miss it, figure out the meter when examiner plays the extract for the first time, and during the second time, memorize the melody including the pitch, then only clap out the rhythm while singing the melody in your head. And now I'll share some general information about the oral test. In the exam, candidate will stand beside the piano where the piano keyboard cannot be seen. Candidates should face the examiner. No book or instrument is needed during the test. About the additional practice materials, ABRSM has published useful materials that can help the candidates prepare for the oral test, such as the books, Specimen Oral Test, and Oral Training in Practice. The apps, ABRSM Oral Trainer, they are paid and light free version. And on our channel, we also have the sample oral test videos. The links to the above materials can be found from the link in description. Here is the marking criteria for oral tests. The candidate's responding time and confidence level, and if the second attempt was needed in any part of the test, will be taken in consideration in marking. I'm not comfortable with singing. What is the alternative? Firstly, the pitch is more important than the vocal quality. You can choose to sing or hum or whistle. For test 7A, you can repeat the melody by playing on your instrument. For test 7B, you can sing in any syllable, letter name, or solfege. Humming or whistling is also acceptable. It's just that the response has to be clear and confident. About the spoken response for non-native English speaker, only test C and D requires spoken response. Candidate is permitted to bring an interpreter into the exam room. From my personal experience, the candidates do not need a perfect command of English for spoken response. The examiner will say the same instructions at the beginning of each test, just like in this video. You can just give the simple answers and keywords confidently. For the answers, there is a definitive answer for all tests. However, only a qualified teacher can advise if you sing perfectly in pitch or memorize the correct melody. Besides giving a correct response, candidates should also speak and sing clearly and confidently. So this video only provides guidance and walkthrough, but the training should be done with a qualified teacher in order to know if you are doing it correctly. Can the test be done on your instrument for non-pianists? No, the oral tests are only delivered using piano by the examiner. You should utilize practice materials by ABRSM to familiarize with the procedure. But teachers are strongly encouraged to adapt the test on the candidate's respective instrument to give them a better understanding. Check out the link in the description for the PDF version of this video as well as all the links and documents mentioned earlier. Like and drop us a comment if you got questions or if you find this video helpful. Subscribe to our channel for more contents. All information is correct by the date of publication. In the event of any discrepancies or inconsistency, ABRSM's information shall prevail. And that's the end of this video. See you next time.